Oh, good evening, everybody. Good morning to those in America, Houston, Texas. And then good evening to those in the United Kingdom. Good evening also to our friends in Ghana. So we started with EC2 instance storage. Yesterday, we talked about the Elastic Block Store. We also introduced the Elastic File System. And today is a different day. So I want us to continue by taking a look at Cloudfront. After Cloudfront, we will treat FXS. And if the time permits, we will look at the Snow Family. So let's see what we have in here. Okay. Let's go to Cloudfront. All right. It's going to be a great one today. I can assure you that. Can assure you that. So talking about AWS Cloudfront, the other time when we're talking about Cloudfront, where we are celebrating Lagos being positioned as an edge location, we talked about Cloudfront as a content delivery network services that Amazon AWS provides for their clients. And this is what enables individuals to distribute their content, maybe through their web pages, maybe distribute their images, their videos in a dynamic way or a static way. And I would say the sole reason for that is for them to be able to, improve on the low latency. So therefore, people can, less than few milliseconds get what they are looking for. So the main goal is to improve the performance, the speed, and the reliability of the content that is to be delivered to end users around the globe. So now there's a way it works, which is caching. What is caching? That is the ability for the system to copy a far-fetched file and save it somewhere around. So if peradventure you want to, access it, you don't have to travel that far to access it. For a file that must be accessed more than one time, the very first time you may travel to the file location, and that may, have a kind of latency to read. But once it's been cached in an edge location around, it will be easier for it to be accessed quickly. That's about the caching. So that's the caching distribution. Then Cloudfront has what is called the origin server, which here I said it works with origin server, which is the original source of your content. And most times, our files can be cascaded into the S3 bucket. Maybe we're generating it from an instances at the same time. Maybe our files are coming from the load balancers or external servers located around the globe. So be it as it may, the original file server can be accessed by Cloudfront, and you can use it to cache it in a file location, in an edge location closer to where you are. What do we have? Okay, we've talked about edge location. Let's move forward to see what is down. And also it can, dynamic and static content support. So Cloudfront supports both dynamic and static content, like personalized web pages can also be cached at the edge location for specified duration. And we have caching rules to that. And also there are caching control options, because you would want to, manage how caching is being carried out. And there are several rules. We'll look at them. And so that's that. It has its own security features where we can actually create permission, give access to specific users in specific nations. Maybe we may want to blacklist a particular country and say, people from this country should not be able to access my files. And each time they go on with the URL, it will bounce. That is the blacklist. We can also whitelist some nations too, where which people from that nation can actually access it directly without troubles. So this is about the geo restriction of it, and it's a security feature. Okay, when we talk about this aspect, most countries in Africa suffers these geo restrictions to specific sites around the world, and that is what we are trying to, battle, and we're trying to break down. And I believe we'll be able to, bring them down. So that's about the Cloudfront. It's about it. So let's move on to talk about the AWS Snow Family. Now, there will be times that you have heavy data and you want to transport it, migrate it to Amazon, all right? And it will take a longer time, maybe because of the slowness of the internet, maybe because of the position that you are, you cannot even access internet. And so the only option you would get that done is by, getting through to Amazon and asking them to send you some hardware devices. And these hardware devices can be used, they have different throughputs. They can be used for the storage and the deployment, or the storage and the migration of those data back to Amazon. And then if the S3 should be where you want to save this data, then you can now upload them. So, but now the Snow Family is all about hardware. But though they have different functionality, and which we want to see here, the first one is called the Snow Cone, like a cone. It's a kind of handy device that is highly portable and it's hard. It's something that if it drops, it may not, it may not break. It's made up of very tough materials that can actually absorb some shocks, and it's a way for us to compute data and also to transfer data. And we have two ways of this snow cone, two kinds of this snow cone. We have the snow cone, which also have two kinds. That is the 4 GB of memory and the 8 TB of the hard disk storage. We have that, and then we have what is called the Snow Cone SSD, and that has the 4 GB also of memory and the 14 TB of it. So, but they are all classified in the Snow Cone. When we get in, as we are provisioning them, you will be learning them better. So the next one is what is called the AWS Snowball Edge. It's a kind of snowball device, okay, that has a kind of flexible and dynamic compute power. Yeah. And it can do local processing also and edge computing. So when we say edge computing, what are we saying? It has the ability to access the server. As you are storing it, you can also process the data at the same time with it. So it comes in four vehicles. The first one is the storage optimized. And the second one is the compute optimized. And we have the compute optimized with GPU. Okay, one is missing here. When we get in, should be able to see it and understand it better. And then the third one is AWS Snowmobile. The snowmobile is like a vehicle, like a huge truck, which, just as the name implies, mobile, is mobile, like a huge truck for about 100 petabytes data, where which they will send it to the data location, onboard it, and it also have the computing power also. So that is about that on it. Let's go and see the FSX, which is another simple one. I think these three, we should be able to take this three today. Okay, this is another storage pattern that is being given to us by AWS. And I have it here that is easy and cost effective to launch it. When you want to, you want to work with data that will require a scaling feature, which will require a high performance in the cloud, this should be your option because it supports a wide range of workloads and it's trustworthy. It scales. Yeah. When we were talking about the others, we weren't talking about scalability of them. So it scales. And the catch here is the lower total cost of ownership. Yeah. So for different categories, we can use it. At Adventure, we want to move data into a data management software like the NetApp, OntApp. This is our best option. And if we want to use the open source storage platform like the OpenZFS, this is also our best option. And it also supports Windows file servers and the Lustra. The Lustra is made up of Linux and cluster. So that is how it works. So in these 4 areas, so this is the little introduction we can get. And let's dive in. And the most important thing, like I said, has to be you being able to provision. Somebody's asking me to run a short review. Sorry about that. We have it recorded in the video, so we have to save time. Time is money. When you go back to your videos of yesterday, you would get everything said, all right? You can go over it back and front, as many times you can get it done. So let's move on. Some days we will review, some days we may not be able to review. So where are we? It's on some time. So you can log into your AWS console. That is the first thing you have to do. And let's see how we can provision the Cloudfront. What do? You go by creating a bucket that would house the data first. So where do we get the bucket? We get buckets in S3, right? So we get in there. So without wasting our time, we may want to say create bucket by clicking create bucket. And you give it a bucket name. I have lots of buckets there like you saw, but we'll give it a bucket name. Coming, let me create a new tab. All right, to give it a bucket name, I may want to say Pekene Cloud Front. All right. You just leave everything. You go down. Leave everything the way it is. You leave the bucket version in disabled, move down and create your bucket. Now you have your bucket created. You have your bucket created. So now the next thing is for us to add some files in the bucket by going down to look for the bucket created, which is the Pekene Cloudfront. You can see it. I have highlighted it. You come here by uploading files. You say add file. You may want to pick some files. Okay, let me take this guy here. All right, still going. I want to add another file. Let me come in here. Come in here. Okay, let me take this. All right, we are good. Now say upload. All right, so this is our bucket and we have these two files in it. So what do we want to do? These are the files that we're going to be fetching through the Cloudfront. So we go back to our Cloudfront. I'm opening a new window, just a new tab rather. You enter Cloudfront. Okay, please, you can pardon my internet. It's not as smart as yours. So remember, Cloudfront is for content delivery. It's a content delivery service. So now we create a distribution. There's one that is already created. You say create a distribution. All right. Let's get in here to say, let's pick, give it a name, an origin name is this guy, Pekene Cloudfront S3 US East 1A. Can see .com. That shows that it's like a website somewhere. Now you go down to other functions. To either check if you want to make it public, you want to, but I would say you take the origin access control. All right. So now you come down to click create control settings. Then I haven't done that. What do you do? We have S3 here. Maybe we may give you the kind of description. It's optional, but just leave everything the way it is and click create. Okay. Let's go down to web application firewall. So we can take up the security, that is it, web application firewall. So if we say enable security protection, it's another statement. So for now, let's keep it simple by clicking do not enable security protection. Okay. Let's go down. The default here now, default root option. We may want to say, for the sake of that HTML file, we may want to say index.html. Yeah. So from here now, you can create your distribution. So it's asking us, it said, the S3 bucket policy needs to be updated. Complete distribution configuration by allowing read access to Cloudfront origin access control in your policy statement. So we now have to copy this. All right. It's copied now. We have to go to our bucket. Picking a Cloudfront bucket, this is the bucket, right? We are in the bucket now. So let's see. We have to come down here to permission. When you say permission, you scroll down. You can see bucket policy showing here now. You edit. When you say that, you come in here to want to paste it, what you copied. Now, what is the bucket policy? That's the ID's cloud policy for Cloudfront private content. Allow Cloudfront service principal, effect allow, and S3 get object. Action is to get object. And the source, this is it. So that's that. Let's move down. Move down to say save changes. So for this, now that it is created, that is to say, for countries that are allowed, or countries that are allowed to access our file in the S3 bucket, they may want to travel down to the origin, which may be where the S3 bucket is the very first time. But once they travel down and fetch it, it will catch it in the closest edge location around the globe. In the closest edge location around the globe. Now, Cloudfront is a global service. It is a global service. But when you are creating your stuff, you may include certain regions or edge locations to enable the countries. Though some of them are automatic, we may not even do anything about that. But now let's get into the geo restrictions to see how we can enable countries to access our files and blacklist some. So this is our Cloudfront. Let me come to the distribution first. The one we just created is this. We We have it. Let's enter it. When you check this line, you see the origin. Let's see the origin. It's coming from this S3 bucket. Now let's go to geo restrictions. So in geo restrictions, we have to edit. They said geographic restriction type none. So none is allowed, none is disallowed. So let's edit. Let's click allow list. And we pick the countries. This should be allowed. Okay, Gabon should be allowed. No, you just pick one or two. For the sake of my dear friend, Benjamin, let's see this. Let's allow this. Okay, but if we want to block maybe other lists, we click this. And then we look for some list to disallow too. So that's about that. So we are through with the geo restriction. Once you save, it's saved. That's why certain times when you try to log into some website, maybe because of your location, you would not be allowed to access the content. Please, somebody can give me feedback if you can all hear me.
Yeah, Tim is.
Okay, beautiful.
We can hear you. Sure.
Let's move on. So this brings us to the next guy on our list, which is the let's do the Snow family. Let's go in here and search. Let's search for Snow family. It's already showing AWS Snow family. We take it. So remember, the whole essence of this is for you to migrate data from your on-premise server to Amazon. So the first thing you do is for you to request the device from AWS, and they will ship it down to you. And then you now start using it to do whatever thing you want to do. You upload your data and you have it shipped back to them. So when you're here in the console, is for you to order the device by clicking order an AWS Snow family device. Simple, right? And then you create a job name. Today we are not using TMX, we're going to use Pekene. I'm just putting the name so you can be much familiar with it. So when I become the president of Nigeria, you would not struggle to say, that's my man. That's my man. So be familiar with the name. It's a great name. So let's move on. We'll say Pekene job or Pekene data job. So we'll enter the job name. Which are we going to take? If we say import into Amazon S3, that becomes the source destination. Export from Amazon S3, which means we want to export some data that are already cascaded in an S3 bucket. Then they would have it shipped to us. As they are sending us the device, they're going to ship it down with the data in it. So they would be the ones to do the uploading of the data into the device and then before they forward. Now let's leave it at importing to Amazon S3. You go down to your next. So boom, this brings us to what we just explained. I told you we're going to see their differences on a page so we can understand them better. This is the snow cone. And the snow cone has the SSD and the normal snow cone. And the memory, both of them are 4 gigabytes. That's the memories. For this snow cone SSD is not stated, but the hard disk for the snow cone is 8 terabytes. That's massive, right? But it's a small, very small device, but it's massive. So now this is the storage capacity for the snow cone SD. So you can now see the Snowball Edge storage optimized with 80 terabytes. It has a virtual CPU. They all have virtual CPUs. And we have with different memories. This is 80. This is Snowball Edge compute optimized. You know, storage optimized is the optimization of the data, which means it can actually scale up, but for scale up while storing it, but for the Edge, Snowball Edge compute optimized is about the computing power. So you can also have it linked with your EC2s and the rest to conduct some computing services. So if the data is not going to just sit down and you want the data, you know, to be performing certain things, you need to pick this option. And this is with GPU and so on and so forth. If Snowmobile is okay, so right, so we pick. Let's just pick what we want to order. I'm going with this guy, Snowball Edge Compute Optimized. Then you go down. Okay. Let's see. We may say choose your pricing option. If we want to commit upfront, maybe we pay 1 year before time, we may take this option. But if we say, okay, charge us monthly, we take this option. Let's just leave it at that. But if you have so much money and you want to pay one-off, certain times when you pay one-off, you save some cost. But before you do that, you must have done the cost-benefit analysis. Because you wouldn't want to give out more money for a service that you will use less. If you can make a forecast that your project is going to last more than 3 years, maybe 5 years, this becomes your option, and then you now have some savings. But if it's going to be like 1 year, and if it is like a 6-month project, why would you want to pick the 3 years upfront option? You pick the monthly option, which I would say our project is 3 months, right? This training is 3 months. Let's say we're going with this guy. So it's an S3 transfer. So, and also remember, we are not creating a new bucket. We already have our bucket created, which is this guy. So we enable our guy, Pekene Cloudfront. That's our bucket. So we say next. When you come down to the next portion, you may say remote device management. Since it's a remote device management, so manage the device remotely with OpsHub or Snowball Client. Now, OpsHub or Snowball Client, but let me talk a little bit about the OpsHub. This is like the software that will enable you tie in these devices with your computer. So you will run the software on your computer, and while you plug the device to your computer, so it can, you know, seamlessly synchronize. So the OpsHub does that work for you. So you say, go. All right. So this brings us here. It's asking us to choose service type. We said Snow Console will create and use a service linked role Snow Family. So the policies that is already linked with the bucket becomes what we are rolling with. So we may want to come down here and now start entering the destination. Remember, the destinations would be sent. That's where they're going to deploy, send the device to us. So you must enter the destination. If where you are is, if your name is Johnson, you enter Johnson. Let me use my other brother's name here now. Johnson, Ekene. Okay. Then your city. You state your city. You get into your company can be optional. You pick your country. For now, it's a global function, and you see that the United States is what is showing here. So just keep everything simple. And you enter your zip code. This is longer than what they know, but just enter your zip code. All right. So what is remaining is to say is 1 day shipping, 1 day, that is 1 business day, or 2 day shipping, or 2 business day. You choose it. Then you move down to, they're asking you use an existing SNS. SNS is a simple notification service that Amazon has. That is for everything that happens. You know, when we're talking about S3, configuring S3 bucket, we talked about it. And we also did it when we are setting our budgets. So if peradventure we are incurring a higher cost, sorry about that, it will notify us. So we assume we have an existing SNS through CloudWatch. So that is that. We say next, and it's telling us this is not correct. So you correct it, you put the right one. That is about the option which we chose. So this is about it. On the Snow Family, we now go back to the previous to pick another option. Let's see. We may pick this guy now, if this is what we're looking for, the snow cone. And then you follow the prompting. You do the same thing we did. And that's all. You have it created. And you have to expect your device sent to you. And once you get it, you now start working with it. Oh, somebody is saying that I should not become another Tinubu. I know you love me so much. You love me so much. And you wouldn't want me to be another Tinubu. He's a good president. Tinubu is a good president. We are praying so. And God will give him the wisdom to lead us and lead us well, because lots of Nigerians are expecting a change. And I know whoever that is our president, God will use the person to do us right. But in the meantime, I am not Tinubu, as you can see. So let's move on. So that's about that. So we'll have this corrected. We've talked about the Cloudfront. We talked about the Cloudfront geo restrictions. We've looked at the Snow families. So now we have understanding of the snowmobile too, which is the physical truck. So that is to say, if you are in Africa right now, Amazon cannot send you the truck. Okay, they may not be able to send you the truck because that would take a longer time to ship it down. But I believe in the nearest future, they would be able to get that done. So for all what we have done, if you come down here, it's just the job summaries. So let's move on to the next guy, which is which is the FSX. The FSX is quite simple. Let's leave this here and come into FSX. Okay. You search it through the service and you get in. Then what do? You click your create file system. Now we have the 4 options which we talked about. If your file is on a Windows server, you rather use this option. And if it is on Lustra, you pick this option. You can see the 4 options. I hope those that are preparing for solutions architect interviews and solution architect examinations are getting familiar with these things, because most of your interviews would be on what we are sharing right now. They may want to know if you have understanding of the different FXS, okay? And you should be able to tell them that you have been using it. So let's go to the window and highlight it. So now let's have an understanding of Amazon FSX for Windows file server. Here it says Amazon FSX for Windows file servers provides simple, fully managed, highly reliable file storage that's accessible over the industry standard server message, that SMB protocol. That's what it says. Broadly accessible from Windows, Linux, and Mac. So this becomes your option. It's built on Windows servers. All right. And here now they said offers highly available and highly durable single AZ and multiple AZ deployment options. You know what is single AZ is all about. Single AZ means that it is only a particular availability zone that you can access it. Maybe if your EC2 is in a specific availability zone, that's only on that availability zone you can access it. Multiple AZ means that you can access this file in multiple availability zone. So that is that. Said it supports dynamic scaling of your file system to fit your storage and throughput. Throughput talks about the speed, how you access the file, the speed of accessing the file. So you can provision it to how fast you would want it. So that is about that. Now the catch is that and up to 3 gigabytes of throughput. Can you see that you have that recorded up to 3 gigabytes and the IOPS with a consistent sub-millisecond latency. Wow, this is pretty fast. So you have all this noted and have them buried in your head. If peradventure you're being asked to make a separation of them or to talk about them differently. But for those that are going for the solutions architect exams, these are the features that they will pick: 3 gigabyte throughput and Windows, Linux, and Mac OS. That is what the world would want to know if you have an understanding of it. So you say next. And now you now start provisioning it according to what you have chosen. If you give it a name, all right, file system name, today is the day of picking it. So we are going with this guy. It's optional, but now we say, let's say single AZ one. Okay, on the SSD storage, we may say 2. The storage capacity must be at least 32 because that is what it offers, minimum of 30. You can see this is what Anson offers you. If you don't know, when you've been asked a question, you may pick 2, pick 3, pick anything. But if you have been practicing, you see that you know that if it is 30, nothing less than 30 would go. And the recommended throughput capacity is 32 MB per second. If you want it faster, you click here and you specify. You may pick this guy and say 64 MBs per second. That's firefighting. But it's your money. So you see, they said the network and security. You pick the VPC, which you pick the security group. We already have a security group which we created. You pick it. Can you see that? You're going down to the subnet level. You pick the subnet. Maybe this is the guy that you want to go with. You know, we already have existing subnets, right? That's why it's good to be in classes. If you have been following the videos, this wouldn't have been a challenge to you. So Windows authentication, AWS manage Microsoft Active Directory. Yeah, we leave AWS to do it so we can cross our legs and close our eyes without troubles. So if we want to encrypt, we now say default key that protects my FSS resources when no other key is defined. That is that. So we leave it. So that's about what you would do. Every other thing, yeah, optional. Okay. Let's say AWS manage, so they want us to choose AWS manage Microsoft Active is required. So let's say self-active domain, we can say the HTML index.html index. All these functions incur cost, so we may not click the create. We just would have to understand this is optional. Service account username. Say, service account password. We just pick. Then okay, let's just pick any convention. Yeah. So if we have an admin created, we now have it here. So that is about it. All right. When you are trading in this domain, be very careful. So because one button that you will click here, you can get an alert of nothing less than $1,000, $2,000 charge. All right. So this is about it. You may want to go back. Say never. You pick on this other guy and you just see the net app on tab. They said Amazon FSS for net app on tab provides features rich, highly performance and highly reliable storage built in a net app, popular on tab file systems and fully managed by AWS. These are already existing systems. This is a software for data management. So they're already existing, but Amazon now came up with an idea for you to manage your data in there through their own services. So this becomes your option if this is your primary data management software. And if the OpenZFS is the option, then you pick this because there are existing organizations that have been managing their data with different softwares around the globe before Amazon came up with their own services. So it is wise for them to look for a way to have a synchrony between these open source softwares, open source services, so customers will not struggle to migrate and have a better services. So that's why they came up with all this and that. So all these are what you're going to be doing once you have been engaged. If your company uses this for their data services, these are the things that will be required of you to provision. You can see how simple it is. The same thing we have been doing, you go down with the next. If you say create, quick create, you take quick create. If you say standard create, then you follow the step by step and impute all what we did in the previous case. And that is about that. For this, your pay grade, it will be nice. You know things and you keep it at this level. But if we have to take it to the next level, it will be so much expensive for us to now start creating them. So that's everything about these three instant storage services for the day. All right, thank you very much. Thank you very, very much. So we're gonna interact right now. First thing I will do is to go on and off the recording. Let's say we off the record, no, we stop the sharing first. Then we off the recording.